Good day, good day, good day to you all. Today I'm talking to you about prosperity. It is one of the subjects that has caused many people to lose out in life and some to gain. Depends on who they're listening, to whom they're listening, from whom they're taking advice. But prosperity is something that is before all of us. We all want to prosper one way or another. We like some measure of prosperity. Some, in their efforts to prosper, try to find shortcuts, easy way out, how to do it overnight. Some, in their effort, resort to stealing. They can see that the other person is prospering and they must take what he has gained. Some resort to begging. Some, unfortunately, demean themselves. They rent their bodies to gain some measure of prosperity. Some, in despair, decide that, well, prosperity is not for me. And so they give up and they can't be bothered as to what they ought to do. I have good news for you. We all can prosper. We were designed by the Master to prosper. That Genesis proclamation did not stop with Adam and Eve. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. It means that every living person coming into this world can prosper intellectually, spiritually, socially, materially, but it's how we go about it. As a matter of fact, it's what's being fed into us that causes us to take one position or the other. It is surprising sometimes to see individuals with minimal qualifications, with minimal resources, but because they think they ought to prosper, they move out and they acquire properties. They acquire good measure of education. They manage to get leadership position. They manage to be financially free. If you follow the development of all the people who have shaped circumstance and become successful, you will find that they have 6 C's to their existence. This is what I want to talk to you about. But because they are so important, I will be talking to you about them one at a time. And then we move from first C to the 6th C eventually in different videos. Today, I'm talking to you about C, courage. Courage. It is necessary for us to have some measure of courage. We were not born with that courage. We develop courage as we go along. Let's look at life and see what is there. At a given moment, there will be a certain amount of fear. Fear comes to all of us, even the bravest of us. When that measure of fear come upon us, we do one of two things. Number one, we allow that fear to govern our lives so much that we are fearful creatures, become walking, talking dead. We can't move anything. We can't create anything. We can't move things into their right places because we're so fearful. I met a young man once. He was so fearful in life that everything you talked to him about, well, what if that happened? What if that happened? No, I'm not going to try. When that fear has taken hold of anyone, it spews out acid negativities and bring about crippling. I cannot, I will not, I must not. What if I fail? Victims of fear become losers, can't prosper. I am told that some people die not because of the disease that was diagnosed, but because of fear. That fear grips them so much that they decide that they cannot proceed any further. They have to give up. But I have good news for you. We all can prosper. We all can get rid of that fear, and we all can develop the measure of courage that will cause us to prosper. So we move into number two. Number two is this. When that fear comes along and begin to make your life a negative pact, you sit quietly, calmly, you take some advice somewhere, and you develop courage. Out of the fearful experience, you become very courageous. At a point in my life, there was that fearfulness. I tried everything to gain secondary education, but I end up with tetanus. I was very sick. As a matter of fact, my life after tetanus was a mystery to even the doctors who cared for me. While on my sick bed, recovering, one nurse, Nurse Jackson, never forget her. Sometimes in life I wish, I hope, I pray I could meet her again, but that began to seem completely impossible. Nurse Jackson sat in my bed and she said, "What are you going to do now?" Fear was taking hold of me. Told her, "I think my life is finished. There's no great meaning." And she sat there, looked me straight in the eyes, informed me that the illness I had gone through was not crippling physically or intellectually, let alone spiritually. And as it were, she commanded me to be courageous. Get up and aspire and fulfill your dreams. That gave me courage. I went home after good treatment at the Kingston Public Hospital. I went home, and almost straight away I found a distant learning institution. That was the Bennet's College in Sheffield, in England. There they would help people in the developing world to gain GCE subjects and other subjects. I registered for 7 GCE subjects, and along the way, not just at the Bennett's College, because after a time I was convinced that I was going too slow, and so I moved to England. But that courage enabled me to acquire 7 GCE O-level passes, 1 diploma, 1 bachelor's degree, 3 masters, and 1 PhD. It took courage all along the way, but that initial plantation of courage by Nurse Jackson was very, very helpful. Those who excel are the ones who allow their fears to generate courage. Listen to Scripture. Be strong and courageous. Be not afraid or dismayed before the king of Assyria and all the host with him. For there is another with us, greater than all those with him. Let's bear that in mind. Every time the fear says, I am going to conquer you, remind yourself that around you, within you, above you, there is one greater than all those with them. Who have seen so many people allow their fear of racism, fear of lack of finance, fear of death to seize them and to cripple them. On the other hand, I found a lot of people who, because they allow the fear to generate courage in them, they move fearlessly into battle and overcome and become leaders in one way or another. I'm sure you want to be courageous. You want to be prosperous. You want to be healthy. It is possible. Fear must generate within you that courage to stand out. And when the army outside seems to be greater than your army, you move against them. Fear will cause us to pick up the books, pick up the seminars, pick up the webinars, and move out. And when others are saying it can't be done, you at your age, so many of us late developers, when you get out there, they smile at you sometime, and you can read into the smile at his age. One man actually suggests to me that at my age, I should not be too hopeful of getting education. Wasn't all that old, but in his estimation, I was gone past the age to go and look for GC and what's not. But that courage planted in me was there. You can do it. You can do it. Yes, just about everything we do in life, there will be some risk. A risk of failure. What is failure really? We make too much death ability out of failure. They're going to laugh me to death. They're going to scorn me to death. I won't live it down. No. Thousands before you have failed. But failure should not be a crippling event. Failure should be a stepping stone to success. Courage say, step on that failure, climb up. One man suggests that if it is failure, people would say to him, you have missed the boat. He said, there is the plane. I'll catch the plane and get there before many others who are on the boat. And I've seen it in my experience. Many of those who had early start, many of those who were fortunate to go to secondary school, good schools too, they have not achieved what I, the late starter, have achieved. And in my work, it proved that it's not merely getting degrees, but it could be applied to all that I do. Be of good courage. Be of good courage and be successful. Courage says, I will put all the money I have in that venture when others are saying, no, don't do it. Courage say, do it. Courage say, buy that piece of land. It's looked like a desolate wilderness, but buy it. The young man bought the land, and because of development coming, proved to be the foundation for his fortune. When you go through scriptures, it tells you about a lot of individuals who manage to take hold of courage. Joshua was going out. The Lord said, I not commanded you today, be strong and of a good courage. It's not a one-era event. It's not a one-off situation. That's before all of us to be courageous, to do the impossible, to move the mountains. Yes, when you're courageous, wonderful things can happen. You see, things don't just happen like that. We cause things to happen. And in every situation, it is the courageous individual that will cause creative acts to come forth. Yes, I've experienced it. And I look back sometimes and say, now, how did you really manage to do that? And all I can say, it is the inspired courage that pushed me through. A very good book I read on courage is a book called Profile in Courage, written by John F. Kennedy. In that book, he relayed to us how some politicians stood out. Their constituents, their fellows were saying, no, that's not what you do. And they knew then that they're likely to lose elections. They're likely not to be promoted. They're likely to be despised and to be thrown out. But courage, say, stand for that which is right. Though the heavens fall, be courageous and do that which is right. Many in the modern era have shown courage and have prospered. You too can be courageous and prosper. One great writer suggests we can do nothing without courage and perseverance. Speak words of courage to the poor and disheartened. That is found in a book called Ministry of Healing, written by Ellen G. White. You find that on page 196. Be hopeful and courageous and prosper in 2023.